Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're just seeing my face for the very first time, hi, my name is Adora and you're watching Life with Ada Beke. So this video is going to be a continuation to the part 1. In the part 1, I talked about the academic requirements to be able to get into medical school. So the prereqs, you know what we call the prerequisite, the prereq classes. So I talked about that in the part 1. And then in this part 2, I'm going to be talking about the non-academic requirements to get into medical school. So those things that they are not in the class, they're not in the course, but you know, to go into med school, you have to be a well-rounded applicant, and those other things are very, very important as well. So I'm going to be listing them so that you can at least have a guide. You can have an idea of what should I be doing so to prepare myself to be a well-rounded applicant as I apply to medical school. Okay, so let's get into it today. As usual, I have my notebook here. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. So the first requirement that you need is the MCAT. And the MCAT is an academic requirement, but you know, non-academic. But you understand, I had to place it here. But some people have not heard about the MCAT before, you know, as funny as it sounds. But I have so many videos on my channel. If you just go through my med school playlist, I have so many videos about the MCAT, how to study for it, how to prepare for it, you know, how to go about the whole MCAT situation. But the MCAT is absolutely necessary for you to apply to med school. The average MCAT score is 500. The average MCAT score for people who are admitted into medical school is a 508. So I always say you should be aim for the stars, aim for the moon, and if you fail, you land among the stars. Like, try to, you know, that 508 and above should be your target. But if you get a 506, you know, a 505, it doesn't mean you will not get into medical school, you know. That's what I'm just saying. But then the next thing is you need to shadow. Shadow. Some people might be like, what is shadowing? What does shadowing mean? What does it entail? So shadowing is essentially going into, you know, like a clinic, either in an outpatient setting or an inpatient setting, to see how like physicians work, what their life is like. So you're just following them around like a little shadow and asking them questions, you know. It's a little bit of a teaching experience, but the whole point is mostly an observational experience. You're going out and you're looking at seeing what they do. So you won't be like, is this lifestyle, is this what I want? Like, is this how I even want to, like, you know, live the rest of my life? Because, you know, medicine is not a job, it's a career, it's a calling. You understand? So shadowing is very important, and you need to rack some shadowing hours under your belt. There's different organizations that actually help pre-med students to link up with physicians to be able to shadow. But another way that you can go about shadowing, like for me, I had a friend whose mom was a physician, and I reached out to the mom and she was like, sure, you can shadow. With COVID restrictions are kind of reducing more and more, so they are becoming more and more opportunities to shadow in person. But some people did virtual shadowing, and that counted during this COVID period. So you could virtual shadow. You can email doctor. Maybe if you have like your family doctor that you go to, you can email them. Your pediatrician, you can email them, tell them, oh, I'm interested in medicine, I would love to shadow you, you know, maybe twice a week or once a week for, like, you know, a couple of months. You come and see what their life is like, and you record those hours. So most like a lot of medical school applicants have, like, you know, upwards of 50, 100 hours of shadowing. So you want to make sure that you get a lot of hours. Shadowing is not something you just go and do once. Like, it's something that you want to be doing like regularly. Like for me, I was able to shadow like an OB-GYN once. Like, I met her at a conference and she was like, yeah, sure, like you can shadow me, blah blah. So for like 3 weeks, I was going to her office every day for about 4 hours. So think about that, like 5 days a week, 4 hours. So that's like 20 hours in 1 week. And in 3 weeks, I was able to rack up 60 hours of shadowing. So, and that was like during the summer when I had time. So, like, you know, or if you don't have time, like maybe if you want, like, it can be one day a week for like 5 hours. And before you know it, you've racked up a couple of hours of shadowing. But shadowing is very, very important. You need shadowing hours under your belt. Okay? Yes. The third thing is clinical experience. I've talked about clinical experiences. I'm going to link a video on how to get clinical experiences, or what kind of clinical experiences that you can look out for. But clinical experience is interfacing with the patient. So shadowing is not a clinical experience. Shadowing is like you are literally just following the physician around. Clinical experience is where you are the one that is interfacing with the patient. What could clinical experience look like? It could be like being an EMT. Like for me, I was a doula. You can, maybe you're a medical assistant, you're a scribe, so you're a phlebotomist. Like whatever it is that you're doing that is interfacing with the patient, where you're having real patient contact hours. Again, you want to make sure that you are keeping track of those hours, like how many hours. Clinical experience, you should that's most likely going to be like where one of your largest hours is going to come from. I think I showed you guys my application. I had quite a ton of hours of clinical experience. I had a ton of hours. Clinical experience can be paid or it can be volunteer. It doesn't matter. So like some people are like they work in like the ER, some people volunteer in the ER, and maybe they help patients with like going to the bathroom. You're a CNA. CNA is a paid experience, but maybe volunteering in the ER is not paid. All of those will still count as clinical experience. Okay. Then another important thing is your letters of recommendation. So that is non-academic, but it's super, super important because they do look at that. It's very important. So you want to make sure that you're getting letters of recommendation from people who do know you. Some people get letters of recommendation from people who, I got an A in this teacher's class, so I'm going to ask them for a letter of recommendation, but the teacher does not even know who you are. They're going to write something generic. So you want to make sure that you're getting letters of recommendation from people who actually like know you, who you've worked with. Maybe if you worked with like someone in research or something, that's like a good person to get letter of recommendation from. Maybe you had like a long history of communication with somebody, like maybe a teacher, you took their class 2 or 3 times. Like that's someone you want to ask for a letter of recommendation. And then speaking of research is another non-academic thing. Research is not mandatory. Everybody doesn't have to do research, but research, it looks good. It's an added thing in your folder. You have to realize like every year it gets more and more competitive to apply to medical school. So if you have the opportunity to do research, go ahead, do some research and get some research under your belt. Keep track of those hours as well. Like maybe research could be a summer research thing. Research could be something that you do throughout the year. But whatever it is that you do research in, make sure you understand that research, because you could be asked about it on your interview and you don't want to be like, I don't really know what we did though. You actually want to make sure that you were kind of, like involved and you knew what was happening in that research. Another thing is, leadership experience. You want to, get some leadership experience, and it doesn't have to be something like big. It could be like maybe being on the e-board for a club. It could be maybe leadership experience like being in the choir at church, or being a member of like different things in your church, different things in your community, being a part of different community organizations like in leadership positions. So it doesn't have to be like something that, I'm going out of my way to go and get leader. No, if you're like, maybe you're in a sports team or something, like all those things do count like as leadership experience, and you had had some kind of leadership role in that. It's leadership experience. Another thing is like your hobbies. For me, I did put that, like I had a blog. I didn't have my YouTube then, but if I did, I would have put that my YouTuber as well. Like if you have any hobbies, maybe you play piano or something, like all those hobbies are things that you want to like showcase as well in your application. So there is space for you to talk about your hobbies in your application. And last but not least is extracurricular activities. So extracurricular activities can be like being a part of a club, like maybe there was clubs that you were part of, or things that you did in your community, or things that you did as a member of a church or something, or even sports. Maybe you played like intramural sports, or you played sports at a D1 level. Like those things are extracurricular activities that you did, and you want to like speak about them because they speak to your person. They speak to your ability to be dedicated and committed to something, and like following through with a particular thing. So with that being said, that's all the non-academic requirements that I have. If there's any other non-academic requirement that you remember, please feel free to put it in the comment section. As usual, I remain your girl Adora. Please don't forget to like this video, comment, share. Let all your pre-med people, let everybody know, everybody in your circle know that this kind of video exists out there. And if there's other things that you want to learn about, like you want to learn more about about the med school process, or even just being in med school, anything at all, please feel free to put it in the comments. Feel free to email me, feel free to DM me, and I'll see you when I see you next time. Okay, bye. Mwah.